Welcome to your 2022 Hyundai Kona N-Line. It is a tiny little car, but it's got a ton of power for the power to weight ratio. So let's jump into it. We'll do a drive. We'll take a look at the outside. We'll take a look at the inside, and that should wrap us up. So what Hyundai's done with their little tiny Kona is given it a 1.6 turbo 4-cylinder engine, 195 horsepower, and 195 pound-feet of torque, all through a 7-speed automatic transmission. Driving wise, again, because it's so small, it's so low to the ground. I know it's their crossover, but it's still a relatively low, small vehicle. Maneuverability is absolutely wonderful. It's easy to park, it's easy to drive. Forward parking, backwards parking, parallel parking, booting around in the city, kind of just zipping around, doing your thing. No issues at all. And I'm a personal fan of smaller vehicles. So if I were to buy something in the 2022 market, I would go for one of the smallest vehicles out there. Definitely subcompact crossover if it was the crossover market I was looking at. So Hyundai has done very well in equipping this with lots of power, a lot of linear power as well. I'll do a quick, not quite a speed test, but a quick acceleration test. So we are at 0. Nothing is moving in that window right there. Get rid of the automatic start-stop, and let's go. So a little bit of hesitation, but you can hear the revs running up. I think I hit 5,500, and then it gets going. Because it's a Hyundai Kona, it's a tiny little car, I'm gonna omit the fact that there's a turbo lag there. It doesn't really make a difference. Now, $30,000 for a price point doesn't really matter if you're looking at a luxury vehicle or something with a higher price point. I don't want as much turbo lag to be there as there was in this, but consider the vehicle, consider the class. Still has lots of power, and then when you get up to where you need to be, just getting that, I think it was a second, it would be a second and a half of turbo lag. It really just kind of kicks in, gets going, your revs go up, the sounds go up, and there are really no issues to be had at all if this is what you're looking for, just something small to run around the city in. Cargo space is pretty good, 500 liters behind the rear seats, and I think 1,200, 1,300. I'll put the numbers on the screen with the seats folded down. So there's functionality. And back to the driving to wrap this up. Really good and strong in a straight line. This does have the all-wheel drive as well. It's got the all-wheel drive lock option just to the right of the gear shifter. Definitely helps in Canadian winters, and I think a lot of the smaller vehicles now are coming with an all-wheel drive, either standard or at least being offered. But fuel consumption, so on a 50-liter tank, in liters per 100 kilometers, we're at 8.8 on city streets, and that dips down to 7.4 on the highway, and a blended total comes out to 8.2. Now, if this was a regular Kona, the non-performance version, fuel consumption, at least for me, would be a fairly significant key metric that I'm looking at. Because it's their performance line, it's the N line, and there's a little more power here, actually a lot more power here. For me, specifically, the fuel consumption figures would not play a primary role in my decision making. It would be a factor, but it wouldn't be a deciding factor. 8.2 isn't too bad, all things considered. Now, I believe the Kona non-N line, I think their fuel consumption figures are about, on average, a liter lower per 100 kilometers. But not too bad overall. Just to wrap up the driving dynamics side of things, again, great in the city, great on highways, really smooth drive, fairly quick acceleration. You saw the turbo lag from the acceleration test. Not too bad at all for the class and type and style, and most importantly, price point of this vehicle. Let's talk about the outside of the 2022 Hyundai Kona N-Line. So there's a new bumper and a grille and the front fascia and the thinner headlights, and mid-cycle refresh still looks good. I think it looks a little better than the previous year's model, 2021's. Bit of a quirk here on the exterior. So on the grille, it has the N-Line badge. Above both of the wheel arches on the front wheels, it has the N-Line badge, but it doesn't have it in the rear. I think that it's a bit of a miss. Most people will not notice the N-Line badging if they're driving beside you or kind of passing you on city streets, definitely not on highways. But most people will be stuck behind you at a stoplight, a stop sign, or even out in traffic. So I think that's a nice way to, it would have been a nice way to differentiate it, because as it stands now on the right side, it has the 1.6 and it has the all-wheel drive, so I just would have liked to have seen that. The rims here, they're too busy. They're a little complicated. I think they take away from the look of the Kona N-Line. Something simpler would have served, I feel, a lot better. Some may call this a Quirk. I'm going to call it an Irk, and it's the tailpipe. So it's a dual pipe, but it's only on the passenger side as opposed to it being on the passenger and driver side. So the symmetrical side of it is not there. It doesn't look bad, but I think I'm so used to seeing so many vehicles have their tailpipe split, one driver's side, one passenger side, that it just looks a little out of place to me. Taking a look on the inside, we have the upgraded Ultimate package as mentioned before, and that gets us the 10.25-inch digital dashboard and the matching 10.25-inch digital infotainment system. They are smaller on the lower trims. $5,600 for the Ultimate package is a lot, only because the price for the N-Line is a touch over 28, and you throw on that 5,600 and that comes out to now we're at 33,700, so almost mid-30s for a vehicle that is listed at 28, I believe it's $28,099. Yeah, it looks nice, and I know it's the way of the future. It's here. We want bigger, we want faster, we want better graphics, we want more information. I don't know, I wish we could pick and choose some of the things in the Ultimate package instead of it being forced to be all or nothing. And I understand it's the marketing side of things, but I wish that there was a way to split it up. Like, it's cool that this comes with lumbar support, two-way power lumbar support, and an 8-way power driver's seat. And those are the things I would want. A couple of things I wouldn't want in the package for the Ultimate package, and those would include, I don't really need LED lights, so I wish you could pick that. I don't really need wireless charging for that matter. High beam assist is cool, that's great. Having ventilated seats, that's also kind of cool, but these aren't things that I want specifically, or things that I need. I want a few things here. So, kind of a bit of a Irk there, that you have to get everything or nothing. Cabin is very nicely put together, nice, simple, minimalistic. I've always liked Hyundai's HVAC system. It's so easy to use. There's no guesswork. The steering wheel has this nice red stitching on the inside. Heated steering wheel here. Heated seats come standard with all Konas, which is a very nice touch. The infotainment system, easy to work through, easy to dig through. Not much guesswork. There is a bar of hard touch buttons at the bottom. There's a volume knob. There's a scroll wheel as well, so all your basics are covered as far as functionality. It makes it nice and easy to use. Don't have to kind of stab around with your finger guessing at what you're trying to get or extract for information wise from the infotainment system. This does have a heads-up display, which comes with the Ultimate package, something I wouldn't really care for, kind of just to go back a couple lanes into that. Visibility is really, really good. Nice wide windshield. I'm going to call them average-sized A-pillars, nice tall windows. If you've seen the Kona before, it's a bit of a taller subcompact crossover. Still small-sized overall, but I like the fact that it's got taller windows, and visibility out of the rear is as good as it's going to get for something with a bit of a thinner window, but I've had no problems at all with it. The passenger I've had in the vehicle, she said she had no problem. I've been in the rear seats, and yes, I can fit behind myself, which is pretty impressive, only because I sit all the way back, all the way up, so I'm at the extreme side of my seat adjustment, and the fact that I can sit behind myself is a pretty good sign here. I touched on the cargo space, so I believe it's a 500-ish with the seats up, and you pop those rear seats down, and I believe it's 1,296 liters. So again, I think I mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. The functional side is here. You get a bit of the fashionable side up front. You have the nice little red inserts in the air direction slots for the vents. Looks really, really nice. I know sunroofs are an option on two trims. I believe the N-Line trim with part of the package and their mid trim. I would get it only because the headliner and the interior is black, and it can look a little closed in and not quite claustrophobic-esque. But it can look a little smaller than what it is because of the darker color. Long list of standard safety features on the Kona overall. Then you just keep adding with the N-Line, you get a little more. And then the big difference here for safety with the Ultimate package on the N-Line, I believe it's high beam assist is the one thing that you get over and above the other standard safety systems here. As we wrap up the interior, there's a cool little N badging put into the seats. Speaking of the seats, they're very comfortable. I've done a fair amount of driving, both city driving and highway driving, and I've done a little bit of rural driving, and no driver fatigue. They feel good, considering the class of vehicle. And yes, I know it's almost a $30,000 car, but still, for the class of it, it's surprisingly comfortable for the seats. Good side supports, good thigh supports, good back support. Just no real issues I've had at all with it. That's going to wrap it up for the 2022 Hyundai Kona N-Line. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And feel free to tell somebody about the channel who you think might be interested in what it is that I do. Until I see you next time, be well, be healthy, be safe.